And happy Tuesday, and thanks for joining us here on 9 News Plus. We're going to probably be talking about record high temperatures for today here across eastern Colorado. And then tomorrow, it's going to snow. There's a pretty decent chance, in fact, that we get to 80 degrees here in Denver today. And tomorrow, we could be talking about maybe a slushy inch or two of snow tomorrow night. So welcome to Colorado here, folks. I'm 9 News meteorologist Chris Bianchi. And again, for today, very warm, very dry, continuing this pattern we've been locked into for the last 5 to 6 days or so. We're going to keep that for today, but then late tonight, a very sharp cold front will move through. And for tomorrow, we'll start as probably a little bit of rain and then flip over to snow for us here in the Denver area. Not expecting any significant or even really meaningful accumulations, but enough that you will probably notice a little bit of snow tomorrow night and into your morning hours on your Wednesday, but on your Thursday, I should say. So here's a look outside. This is the Rocky Mountain National Park Alpine Visitor Center. We're starting to see some grassy patches out there. We'll get a good refresh on some of that snowfall out there at Rocky Mountain National Park and 11,000 feet in elevation. You get a decent amount of snow up that way from this next storm. Fort Collins, this is a northwest looking view, and if you look off towards the distance, you can kind of see that little line of clouds. That is our next storm system way off in the distance there, so you can kind of see the beginnings of our next storm system there from Fort Collins. That's why I picked out that camera. And overall, we're looking again today at that record heat. We're getting something called compressional warming. What that is when you get colder air is heavier and it is denser, and when you've got warm air out ahead of it, it compresses that warm air. Again, kind of think about I don't know, pushing a wall in or something. You're compressing that air. Same idea with an approaching cold front. So that's why those temperatures today are likely to get to near 80 degrees for us. Huge cool down for tomorrow, and then rain and snow likely for tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night for us along the front range. Into the mountains, especially above 8,000 feet, we could get several inches of snowfall. But ancient Doppler radar, it is mostly quiet right now. Start to see those clouds out ahead of our next system strolling the way on in, and there is that next storm system moving its way through central Wyoming and northern Utah. This is the one that'll bring us in that rain and snow for tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night. So that forecast for this afternoon and this evening, that front approaches slowly from the north and west. By the time you wake up tomorrow morning, you'll probably notice some of that cloud cover and certainly much colder temperatures. But for today, we'll get to 79 degrees. Our, I think, machine is a little confused here. We are not going to be looking at snow today. I think our machine thinks it's going to snow today. That is for tomorrow, but sunshine for today. Temperatures right now, how about 74 in Denver? Look at that in Springfield right now. Keep in mind, it is November the 7th, and it's 11 a.m., and it's 83 degrees in Springfield, Colorado right now. I mean, just cooking for this time of year. Our average high for today is 57, so we are close to 20 degrees above average. And again, it's still the morning, and we'll likely be well above that. So for today, 79 degrees. That would break our daily record of 78 that was set back in 1999 into the mountains. 40s, 50s, a bit more cloud cover into the high country today, and that's why I think we're going to be a little bit cooler up there. But also those winds howling at times. 53-mile-an-hour wind gusts within the last few minutes up at Berthoud Pass. 49-mile-an-hour gust atop Loveland Pass. So it continues to be blustery for us in the high terrain and also on the Palmer Divide. So for our friends at the Arapahoe County Airport, as well as down through Monument Hill, Castle Rock, you'll notice some of those 25, 30, maybe even 35-mile-an-hour gusts through the day today. Those winds do gradually back on off tonight out ahead of our next system, and those winds should be calmer for tomorrow. For tonight, temperatures drop back upper 20s, increasing clouds, 20s, 30s for those lows for the most part across the state as that front crashes through. And then tomorrow, there it is. A high temperature in the mid-40s for us, partly cloudy skies. Winds out of the north at 10 to 20 miles an hour, so it'll be a little bit breezy at times as well. But overall, what you can expect, much colder for Wednesday. Mountain snowfall looking pretty likely and light accumulations in the metro area. So here's a look at that futurecast for tomorrow. We get that front that pushes in from northwest to southeast. Behind that, we'll get some of that upslope flow to develop. That means we'll start as probably a little bit of rain for us here in the lower elevations during the day tomorrow, and then it'll gradually flip over to snow tomorrow night. Could get a little slush of accumulation for us here in town. So tomorrow, in fact, by the morning hours, could start to see some of that rain. Then by tomorrow night, we'll change over to snow. And the south and west sides of town, that's where you could get some of those higher bits of accumulation from this next storm system. Highs tomorrow, 40s, 50s, eastern plains, 30s and 40s into the high country. Now, snowfall amounts in Denver, I don't think we're looking at much. We're looking at maybe a slushy dusting to maybe an inch or two of snowfall in town. This would mostly be on colder surfaces. Not expecting much impact, so airports, roads, for the most part, should be wet. We should be okay in or out of DIA. If you've got a flight tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night, Thursday morning, I think you're all right in or out of the airport. Maybe some delays, but that would be at the worst. Meantime, into the high country, that's where you could get some pretty decent snowfall. And you get to about, I'd say 8,000 feet or above. That's where you start looking at some pretty significant accumulations. So this would be kind of Roxborough Park, the Hogbacks, on up through, certainly once you start getting up into the Front Range Mountains and some of the near mountains, again, Idaho Springs, Eldora, once you're getting to 8, 9, 10,000 feet, that's where you can get a pretty solid storm out of this. Below that, it's going to be a bit too warm, and also just the upslope won't be there to provide the snowfall that kind of the more significant snowfall. So 7-day forecast temperatures mostly in the 40s for the next couple days. Then we're back into the 50s and then the 60s. So that kind of stepping stone. We'll get to those temperatures right back to around seasonal levels pretty quickly here by the weekend. So if we get any accumulation, that'll melt off pretty quickly. And I'm calling it no big deal in terms of that snowfall for us for tomorrow night and Thursday morning. So top line takeaways, certainly much warmer for today, likely breaking a record. We'll likely get to 79, maybe even 80 degrees here in Denver. And then for tomorrow, we really cool on down with rain initially, probably during the daytime hours, then flips over to snow and could get a little slushy accumulation here in town below 6,000 feet tomorrow night, dusting to maybe an inch or two of snowfall for us here in Denver, and then into the high terrain above 6,000 feet, maybe 1 to 3 inches. And I think once you get to about 8,000 feet or above, that's where you could be looking at a pretty sizable storm. I'm looking at you at a place like, I would say this would be the Hogbacks, kind of Conifer, Bailey, the southern Jeffco foothills, western Douglas County, west of I-25, above 8,000 feet in elevation. This is where, so Sedalia, places like that, that's where you may be looking at 6 inches plus worth of accumulation. And certainly as you get into the higher terrain, above 9, 10,000 feet. So Estes Park, Idaho Springs, although Idaho Springs is at 8,000 feet, Leadville, 10,000 feet, that's where you're looking at maybe even a foot of snow, if not a bit more than that. So we're going to see some pretty big differences depending on your elevation, big elevation differences with this storm, just because it's going to be a fairly mild one. But overall, looks like a low impact event for us here in the metro area and a pretty high impact event above 8,000 feet. So Evergreen on west, that's where you're, Evergreen, Idaho Springs on west, that's where you're going to be looking at some of that decent snowfall, I would think, from this next storm. More for you coming up on 9 News at noon, and also coming up for you at 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10. We'll have Chief Meteorologist Kathy Saban breaking all this down for you as well here on the 9 News Family of Networks. Once again, I'm 9 News Meteorologist Chris Bianchi. Thanks for joining us here on 9 News Plus. Have a great rest of your Tuesday.